My beloved child, before you scroll past these words, pause for just a moment. Do not let the haste of today cause you to miss what I have long prepared for your very heart. There are doors that open only when a soul is willing to stop. There are words that can be heard only when all the noise of the world grows still. And there are lights that appear only when you stop running from the deepest longing within you. If you choose to pass over this moment, I will not be angry with you. For my love is not built upon compulsion. But you need to know that sometimes what you are missing is not merely a video, not merely a few short minutes, but a reminder that could change the entire direction of your soul. I have called your name many times in peaceful days, but you were too busy. I have also whispered when you were in pain, but your tears made it difficult for you to hear. Today, I come again not with thunder, nor with power that makes mountains tremble, but with the gentle voice of a father who has never abandoned his child. You often wonder why there is always an empty place within your heart that nothing in this world can fill. You have tried to find peace and success, in praise, in money, in relationships, in great plans, and even in your most beautiful dreams. Yet after everything, when night falls and you are left alone with your thoughts, you still feel that something is missing. It is not because you are not talented enough, nor because you have not tried hard enough. That emptiness exists because your soul was created to belong to me. As Scripture says, our hearts are restless until they find their rest in you. That is why nothing temporary can ever satisfy the longing for the eternal one that I placed within you while you were still in your mother's womb. I know there are days when you feel that you have gone too far. You look back at your life and see it filled with wrong decisions, lost opportunities, words that wounded others, and even moments when you wounded yourself. You think the distance between you and me has become so great that there is no longer any road back. But my child, if that were true, why am I still calling you right now? If I had abandoned you, why would breath still remain in your lungs? If my grace had run dry, why would the sun still rise over your life every morning? Remember what I spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore, I have drawn you with loving kindness. That love has never changed, simply because you are weak. On the contrary, it is in your weakness that my mercy is revealed most fully. Perhaps you think that I come only to those who are perfect, those who pray faithfully at the proper time, always live righteously, and have never stumbled. But look again at the people I chose throughout the history of salvation. I called Moses, even though he was afraid and believed that he could not speak well. I upheld David even though he committed painful sins. I turned Peter, the one who denied his master 3 times, into the rock of the church. I met Saul on the road to Damascus while he was still persecuting believers, and then transformed him into Paul, the one who carried the gospel to the nations. I do not look at you through the eyes of the world. People see only what appears outwardly, but I see the heart. I see the tears that no one else knows about. I see the silent battles you have never told anyone about. I see the times when you smiled before a crowd while, inside, you were breaking apart little by little. Nothing within you is invisible to me. Do you remember the story of the prodigal son, when that son chose to leave his father's house? He believed freedom meant living according to his own will. But the farther he went, the more he lost himself. When he finally sat among the pigs, hungry and hopeless, he realized that what he had lost was not merely an inheritance, but a home. The most beautiful part of that story was not that the son returned, but that the father had been waiting for him all along. While the son was still far away, the father ran to embrace him. That is what I am doing for you today. I am not standing here waiting to punish you. I am not preparing a long indictment of all your mistakes. I am waiting to hold you, because love always runs faster than condemnation. Do not let the voices of the world persuade you that you are beyond hope. The one who sows despair always wants you to believe that it is already too late. It wants you to think that you are no longer worthy to pray, no longer worthy to begin again, no longer worthy to be loved. But I speak something entirely different over you. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. Do you see? I do not say that you must carry the burden of your past forever. I promise renewal not by your own strength, but by my grace. Perhaps what frightens you most is not failure, but having to hope one more time. You fear that if you trust again and then fall again, the pain will be even greater. So you build walls around your heart. You are cautious with people, cautious with dreams, and even cautious when you come near to me. But, my beloved child, true love never forces its way in. I stand at the door and knock. As the book of Revelation says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him." Only you can open that door. I will not break it down. I wait with the patience of a father who knows that love truly blossoms only when it is freely received. Every passing day is a gift I give you, not because you have accomplished something great, but because I still have a plan for your life. There are encounters you consider accidental, yet I have arranged them. There are doors that have closed and disappointed you, yet those very doors have kept you from paths that would have led to deeper wounds. There are prayers that seem unanswered, yet I am preparing an answer more beautiful than you have ever imagined. As it is written in Isaiah, "My thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways." What you call delay is often my protection. What you call loss is often the necessary space in which I will place greater blessings. Therefore, do not turn away too quickly. Do not think that a few minutes spent with me are wasted. You spend hours listening to the voices of the world, yet just one word from me can bring new life to your soul. If you choose to remain today, it is not because I need one more person to listen, but because you need to be found. You were not born to wander endlessly through the dead ends of fear, shame, and loneliness. I created you to walk in the light. Jesus said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." That light does not promise that you will never face trials, but it does promise that you will never have to walk alone again. And when you begin to walk in that light, do not think that all darkness will disappear at once. Dawn does not arrive in the blink of an eye. Light gently spreads across the earth, little by little, until the night has nowhere left to cling. Your faith is the same. I do not demand that you become strong overnight. All I desire is that each day you take one more step toward me. One small but sincere step is more precious than 1,000 promises that are never fulfilled. Do not despise small beginnings, for I once used 5 loaves and 2 fish to feed thousands. I once used a tiny mustard seed to teach my disciples that even humble faith can move mountains that seem impossible. What the world calls small, I often choose to begin my greatest miracles. My beloved child, perhaps you have often asked me to remove every suffering from your life. You want me to open the closed door immediately, heal the wound that still aches immediately, and change the circumstances that exhaust you immediately. But remember Joseph, when his brothers sold him into slavery, he did not understand why I was silent. When he was falsely accused and thrown into prison, he could not see the purpose of those lonely years either. Yet every event that seemed cruel was quietly becoming a step, leading him toward the place I had prepared. In the end, Joseph could say to those who had harmed him, "You intended evil against me, but God intended it for good, Do you see? I do not call evil good, but I can turn even the deepest pain into seeds of redemption when you continue to place your trust in me. Therefore, if today you are still in a season of waiting, do not think that I have forgotten you. A seed lies beneath the soil, not because it has been abandoned. It is growing where human eyes cannot see. The deeper a tree's roots reach, the more firmly its trunk can stand against the storm. There are works I am doing within your soul that even you have not yet recognized. I am teaching you patience in the face of what you cannot control. I am teaching you humility amid success that has not yet come. I am teaching you to rely on grace rather than on your own strength. All these things will become the foundation that keeps you from falling when greater blessings are placed in your hands. There will be days when you look around and wonder why others seem to be blessed more quickly than you. Some people receive what they desire after only a short time, while you are still walking faithfully in silence. But do not use someone else's journey to measure your own worth. The one who tends the vineyard knows exactly when each cluster of grapes must ripen. Not every branch bears fruit on the same day, but every branch has its season. As the Psalms say, he shall be like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in its season. What I promise is not that everything will come immediately, but that everything will come at the right time. And my timing always carries wisdom far beyond what you can see. Do not let your heart be worn away by disappointment. Disappointment is like small drops of water falling again and again upon a stone. At first you do not notice it, but over time it wears down hope. The tempter does not need you to abandon faith all at once. It only needs you to stop praying for one more day. Stop hoping one more time. Stop loving a little more. Those very small steps backward can gradually draw you away from the source of life. That is why today I remind you to hold fast to the most precious thing I have placed within your heart. Even if only a fragile spark of hope remains, do not let it go out. A small lamp is still enough to drive darkness from a room. A simple prayer can still open a door that human strength cannot open. Look at Elijah. After his great victory on Mount Carmel, he fell into fear and despair, so deep that he asked to die. Yet I did not rebuke him for that weakness. I let him rest. I sent an angel to bring him bread and water. Then, when he had regained his strength, I did not appear in a mighty wind, an earthquake, or a great fire, but in a gentle whisper. There are moments when what you need is not a miracle that shakes the whole world, but a quiet presence that brings peace back to your heart. I often work in such gentle ways. When you think I am silent, it may be precisely when I am closer to you than ever before. My child, do not be afraid to let go of the things that have drawn you away from the light. There are burdens you have carried for so long that you have begun to think they are part of who you are. There are pains you hold so tightly because you fear that if you release them, you will have nothing left. But remember, a clenched hand cannot receive a new gift. When you dare to place those burdens in my hands, you do not lose anything precious. You are simply making room for the peace I prepared for you long ago. As Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." That is not a promise of a life without trials, but a promise that you will no longer have to carry those trials alone. Perhaps what exhausts you most is not your circumstances, but the accusations you keep repeating to yourself. You say that you are not good enough. You say that you have ruined everything. You say that I must surely be disappointed in you, but let my words be stronger than the voice of fear. I do not define you by the latest failure you have experienced. I see you through the purpose I placed within you from the beginning. A potter does not throw away a clay vessel simply because it becomes misshapen on the wheel. He patiently reshapes it until the vessel takes on the form he desires. I am patiently working within you in the same way. Every time you rise again after falling, my grace is revealed more clearly in your life. Learn to recognize the small blessings you often overlook. A peaceful breath each morning, someone who still loves you, a word of encouragement arriving at the right moment, a nourishing meal, an opportunity to correct a mistake, a new day to begin again. People often call only grand things miracles, but I am weaving thousands of small miracles into the most ordinary moments. Those ordinary things are quietly helping your life remain standing. If you know how to pause and give thanks, you will realize that I have never taken my eyes off you, not even for a second. Do not forget that the light you receive is not meant only for yourself. I give you peace, so that you may become one who sows peace. I give you forgiveness, so that you may know how to forgive. I give you mercy, so that you may bend down toward those who are wounded. When you comfort someone who is weeping, when you extend your hand to someone in despair, when you choose to speak gently instead of responding in anger, my light is being reflected through your very life. As Jesus taught, you are the light of the world. Light does not need to speak in order to prove that it is light. It only needs to be present, and darkness will retreat on its own. If today you are still sitting here, still listening to every word, I hope you will let your heart grow quiet for a little longer. Do not listen only with your ears. Listen from the deepest place within your soul. For what I have always sought is not a person who merely nods at beautiful words, but a heart willing to be transformed. That transformation does not begin with grand things. It begins when you decide to forgive someone, when you choose to pray instead of despair, when you choose love instead of resentment, when you choose hope instead of surrender. It is through those seemingly small choices that your entire life will gradually begin to move in a different direction. Therefore, my beloved child, if from the beginning I invited you not to pass over this moment, it was not because I wanted to keep you here through fear, but because I wanted you to recognize the precious thing you nearly lost. There are crossroads in life that are not marked by loud events, but by a quiet decision made in the heart. Today may be such a day. No one but you knows what is happening within your heart, but I know what you are fighting. I know what you are waiting for, and I also know who you can become if you continue walking in the light. Therefore, do not let fear lead you into tomorrow. Let love be greater than every worry. Let hope be greater than every disappointment. And let faith be greater than everything your eyes cannot yet see. I am still here, still patiently waiting for you, still loving you with an unchanging love. And every step you take toward the light is also a step toward rediscovering the person I created you to be from the very beginning. Then, as you begin to let those words settle within your heart, you will realize that what I have always desired is not for you to walk quickly, but for you to walk closely. The world teaches you to run so that you will not be left behind, to surpass others so that you may be recognized, and to accumulate much so that you may feel secure. But I invite you to rest beneath the shade of a tree. Take a deep breath, and remember that your worth has never been measured by speed, achievements, or the applause of the crowd. Before anyone knew your name, I knew it. Before anyone called you successful or a failure, I called you my beloved. If you understand that with all your heart, many of the fears surrounding you will quietly disappear like mist before the dawn. My beloved child, do you know why so many people still feel lost even after they have traveled so far? It is not because they lack a map, but because they have forgotten where they desire to return. A ship can cross a vast ocean as long as it knows where its harbor is. But if its destination is lost, even the most favorable wind will only carry it farther away from the place where it belongs. Your soul is the same. When you forget that you were created by love and to live in love, every choice will gradually begin to revolve around fear. competition, and the longing to be accepted by others. You will try to fill your emptiness with things that quickly pass away, and then wonder why your heart remains dry. That is why, before I change your circumstances, I always want to remind you who you are. For when a person knows where they belong, they will no longer easily trade peace for things that glitter. There are fields that become green only after passing through a harsh winter. There are rivers that become clear only after flowing through rocky rapids. And there are souls that truly learn to treasure the light only after walking through darkness. Do not be ashamed of the chapters of your life that you wish you could forget. I do not encourage sin, nor do I call wounds beautiful. But I can use even the things that seem shattered beyond repair to teach you how to feel compassion for others. Someone who has never wept will find it difficult to understand another person's tears. Someone who has never been forgiven will also find it difficult to open their arms to those who have fallen. Therefore, if today you have been lifted up after falling, do not keep that grace only for yourself. Let the mercy you have received become a bridge that leads another heart back to hope. Remember the story of the Good Samaritan, and you will see that what changed the life of the wounded man was not a long sermon, nor a beautiful promise. It was someone who stopped, someone who bent down when others walked past, someone willing to slow down in the middle of his own journey in order to heal another person's pain. I am still searching for hearts like that in the world today. Not hearts that merely know how to speak about love, but hearts willing to live by love. Every time you forgive when you have the right to be angry, every time you remain patient when you have reason to lose your temper, every time you quietly help without hoping to be recognized, you are allowing the light to spread farther than anything you can see. Do not worry too much if today you still cannot see the results of the good things you have sown. A farmer does not dig up the seeds every morning to check whether they have sprouted. He patiently waters them, cares for them, and trusts in the order the Creator has established. Faith needs that same patience. There are prayers that seem to be flying through a silent sky, but are in truth being woven into answers in ways you have not yet recognized. There are tears that fall in loneliness, unseen by anyone. But I do not miss a single one. As the Psalms express, every tear is kept before God. That is not merely a beautiful image. It is a reminder that no sincere pain is ever forgotten. I also want you to stop blaming yourself for the times you have been weak. Some people believe that faith means never trembling with fear. But look at the disciples in the boat amid the storm. They were afraid. They panicked. They cried out for help. What made their faith real was not that they knew no fear, but that in the midst of their fear, they still turned to Jesus. You are the same. I do not ask you to be strong at all times. I only hope that when you are weary, you will not run away from the source of peace. Bring your exhaustion to me. Bring the questions that still have no answers. Bring the doubts that trouble your heart. A sincere heart is always closer to me than a perfect appearance that is empty within. My child, learn to look at the people around you with gentler eyes. You do not know what they have had to fight through before they smiled at you. Someone may be carrying an unspoken loss within. Someone may have just endured a long night filled with tears. Someone may still be trying to hold on to hope by only the thinnest thread. Therefore, a gentle word can become a shelter for a weary soul. A sincere listening ear can be a gift more precious than every piece of advice. Do not judge too quickly. Do not draw conclusions too soon. Let kindness come before judgment. For you too have often been received with mercy rather than condemnation. If there are times when you look up at the sky and wonder whether your life truly has meaning, remember the stars. No single star lights up the whole sky alone. Yet every star helps make the night a little less dark. You are the same. You may not change the entire world, but you can change the world of one person through kindness, faithfulness, and sincere love. Do not despise small things. Life grows from the tiniest mustard seeds. From a humble manger, hope entered the world. There are some things you will understand only when you look back on the road you have traveled. Today, you may not understand why one door has closed, why someone has left, or why a certain plan has fallen apart. But one day, when you turn and look back, you will see that some paths, had they opened at that time, would have led you to a place that was never meant for you. Some rejections protected you from wounds you never knew were waiting. Some delays preserved you for a more beautiful season. This does not mean that every event will be easy to endure. It simply reminds you that even in the midst of what you do not understand, you can still choose to trust. I also hope that you will not forget to care for your own soul. You make time for work, for plans, and for all the things that must be completed. But your soul also needs to rest in silence. Set aside quiet moments to give thanks. Set aside time to read words that bring life. Let your mind be refreshed by truth instead of being carried away by one worry after another. A garden cannot bloom if it only has weeds removed but is never watered. Your heart cannot keep its peace if it only tries to avoid what is negative without nourishing what is good. Then there will come a time when you realize that the most precious gift I give is not that every desire is fulfilled, but my presence that walks with you always. For if you have everything but lose your peace, you are still poor. If you achieve everything but lose love, you are still alone. But when your heart knows that it never has to walk alone, even the roughest roads no longer seem so frightening. Like a shepherd walking ahead of his flock, I invite you to take each step in trust. Not because you have seen the entire road ahead, but because you know that the one who leads you will never abandon you. And as these words slowly come to a close in silence, I only want you to hold on to one thing in your heart. Do not let fear become the storyteller of your life. Let love tell that story. Do not let your past decide your future. Let hope open a new chapter. Do not let old failures define your worth. Remember that every new day is an opportunity to begin again with a heart that is humbler, gentler, and more loving. If today you choose to take one more step toward the light, no matter how small, it is still a step closer to the peace you have always been seeking. And on that journey, the most beautiful thing is not that you will never stumble again, but that every time you rise, you will understand more deeply that love, mercy, and hope are always greater than every darkness you have ever had to walk through. Therefore, from this moment on, what I hope you will preserve is not a passing emotion that has just been awakened, but a choice that will remain with you even after that emotion has settled. Many people may shed tears when they hear a word of comfort, only to return the next morning to their old fears, old thoughts, and old chains. I do not want you to have only one moving moment. I want you to have a heart that is renewed day by day. True transformation does not happen in one brief moment. It grows like a tree beside a stream, quietly drawing life from a place unseen by human eyes. Do not grow impatient if you are still weak today. What matters is not that you are not yet perfect, but that you continue turning toward the light. Every time you turn your face toward the dawn, the darkness will always be behind you. Let that become the habit of your soul. There are fields that bloom only after many seasons of rain and sunshine. There are olive trees that must endure decades before they yield their most precious oil. I am patiently cultivating your life in the same way. What you see today is only the surface of a work that is still being built. A wise builder never judges a house while its foundation is still unfinished. So why do you draw conclusions about your own life simply because one chapter has not turned out as you hoped? You are reading one page and assuming that it is the entire book. But I am the one who sees from the beginning to the end. What confuses you today may one day become a testimony that helps someone else find hope again. Therefore, do not close the story while I am still writing it. My beloved child, I know there are nights when you lie awake because of questions that have no answers. You wonder why you have tried so hard, yet the result has still not come. Why you have forgiven, yet the wound still hurts. Why you have prayed, yet your circumstances seem unchanged. Those questions do not draw me farther away from you. On the contrary, I cherish the honesty of a heart that still seeks. Even the righteous people in Scripture raise questions in the midst of their trials. King David cried out many times, "How long, O Lord?" Yet in those songs filled with tears, he discovered that my presence was more precious than every answer. For there are times when what you need is not to know every reason, but to know that I am still holding your hand. Do not fear my silence. A mother sitting beside a cradle does not always speak, yet she is still there. A shepherd standing on a hillside does not need to call each sheep by name every minute, yet his eyes never leave his flock. My silence is not my absence. Sometimes it is the necessary stillness in which you learn to recognize my voice amid the countless sounds of the world. If everything were explained immediately, faith would no longer be faith. Faith grows when you continue walking, even when you cannot yet see the path ahead. When the people of Israel stood before the Red Sea, the waters did not part before they stepped forward in trust. Miracles do not always come before faith. Many times they appear in the very steps of those who dare to move forward. Then there will come a time when you realize that the most precious thing I have given you is not a life without storms, but a heart that no longer trembles before them. The Sea of Galilee still rose with fierce waves, but the presence of Jesus in the boat changed everything. The waves and storms are no longer signs that I have forgotten you. Sometimes it is in the middle of the storm that you discover the strength I have quietly placed within you long ago. You are stronger than you think, not because of your own strength, but because grace continually sustains you, even when your knees seem unable to stand any longer. Be careful about what you allow your heart to listen to each day. A tiny seed can become a forest. A single thought can become the direction of an entire life. If you continually nourish fear, you will begin to see every door through eyes of suspicion. If you nourish gratitude, you will recognize blessings in places where others see only ordinary things. Therefore, I hope you will guard your mind as a gardener guards the most precious garden. Do not let the weeds of bitterness grow among the flowers of hope. Do not let the condemnation of the world become louder than the words of love I have spoken over you. Remember the poor widow who had only 2 small coins. In the eyes of many people, her offering seemed worth very little, but I saw the whole heart behind the gift. What I always seek is not outward abundance, but sincere love within. Perhaps today you think you have nothing to offer. You do not have great strength, extraordinary talent, or achievements that make others admire you. But if you offer me a humble heart, a desire to live righteously, and a faith that still glimmers in the darkness, I can accomplish things beyond what you can imagine. In my kingdom, value is not measured by the size of what you give, but by the love you place within it. Do not forget that forgiveness is also a gift you need to give yourself. There are people who have truly hurt you. I do not tell you to deny that pain. I do not tell you to call what is wrong right. But if you continue to hold on to resentment, you will keep allowing the past to rule your present. Forgiveness does not mean that the wound never existed. Forgiveness is the decision not to let that wound determine who you will become. Every time you choose to lay down a burden, your soul gains more room for peace to dwell. You will be the first one to receive healing. My beloved child, do not seek me only in extraordinary moments. I am also walking with you through very ordinary days. I am present in the sound of birds singing at dawn, in the cool breeze after a scorching day, in the smile of a stranger, and in the hand extended at the very moment you thought you were alone. How many times have you called these things coincidence? While I call them gentle care. Life is not woven only from great miracles that astonish everyone. It is also woven from countless small threads of grace that, if you slow down just a little, you will begin to see everywhere. Do not let the hurried rhythm of life steal your ability to be amazed. When you were a child, you could stand for a long time simply watching a butterfly or gazing at a sky full of stars. But over the years, you became so accustomed to everything that you forgot how to contemplate. Learn it again. A heart that knows how to wonder will always be a heart that can easily recognize my presence. Not because I am present only in nature, but because every true beauty reflects something of the goodness of the one who created it. If one day you lose your way again, do not be ashamed to return. No one walks through life without ever stumbling. What makes the difference is not never making mistakes, but always knowing how to turn your heart back toward what is good. The shepherd rejoices when he finds the lost sheep, not because it never wandered away, but because it has finally been found. And if today you feel that you are still on the journey home, remember that every step you take is welcomed with love, not with reproach. Perhaps after these words come to an end, the world will still remain the same. The trials may not disappear immediately. The bills will still need to be paid. The calls will still need to be answered. The pressures will still be there. But I hope that one thing will no longer remain the same: the way you see your own life. When you know that you are loved, you will no longer have to live to prove your worth to everyone. When you know that you are not alone, you will find the courage to walk through roads that once frightened you. When you know that hope still remains, you will not surrender so easily before adversity. So, if you have stayed until this very moment, carry with you not only the words you have just read, but also the decision to live more slowly in order to listen, more gently in order to love, more courageously in order to hope, and more humbly in order to recognize grace in each day. Let every sunrise remind you that there is always a new beginning. Let every sunset remind you to place down the burdens of the day. And let every heartbeat in your chest become a quiet prayer of gratitude. Because you are still being given the opportunity to love, to forgive, to grow, and to move forward. Though the journey ahead may still be long, do not forget what I reminded you of from the very beginning. You were not created to remain lost forever. You were created to find the light, to walk in the light, and then for your own life to become a small lamp, quiet yet steadfast, lighting the way for those who are still searching for the road home. Then one day, you will look back on the road you have traveled and suddenly realize that what made you mature was not only the beautiful seasons of sunshine, but also the long nights that seemed as though they would never end. It was in those quiet spaces, when every support of the world appeared to be gone, that you began to hear more clearly the gentle call that had been sounding from the beginning. I never left you. It was simply that amid the noise of ambitions, worries, and endless desires, your heart had forgotten how to listen. Therefore, if today you feel yourself slowing down, do not be too quick to call it failure. There are steps that must slow down so that the soul can keep pace with grace. There are doors that must close so that you will no longer return to a place that was never truly your home. And there are tears not meant to drown you, but to wash away the dust of the road that has clung to your heart after such a long journey. You often think that strength means never falling down, but I tell you that true strength is having the courage to rise after every fall while still keeping a gentle heart. The world teaches you to become hard until you no longer know how to cry. But I am never ashamed of your tears. Even the Savior wept over the pain of those he loved. Tears are not a sign of weakness. Many times, they are proof that your heart still knows how to love, still knows how to hope, and has not yet allowed darkness to turn it into a cold stone. Do not try to hide those wounds from me. A shepherd cannot bind up a sheep's wound if it is always hidden beneath thick wool. Let me see even the things you are still trying to hide from yourself. For only when you dare to be honest can healing truly begin. My beloved child, there is something that many people forget as they walk in faith. Miracles do not appear only at the destination. They are also present along every part of the journey. When the people of Israel walked through the wilderness, they longed for the promised land, but they did not realize that each day manna still fell from heaven. Each day the pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire still led the way, and each day water still flowed from the dry rock. If you keep looking only at what you do not yet have, you will miss countless things I am quietly placing in your hands today. Learn to see life through the eyes of gratitude. A heart that gives thanks will always find light, even in afternoons filled with gray clouds. Do not let haste steal your ability to contemplate. The flowers of the field do not bloom merely to be admired, yet their beauty still praises the one who created them. The birds of the air do not store up for tomorrow, yet each morning they sing like a wordless hymn. A stream does not compete with a river, and an ancient tree does not envy a small flower. All creation finds peace when it lives according to what it was made to be. Only human beings so often suffer because they continually want to live someone else's life. Stop comparing your journey with anyone else's. I did not create two souls exactly alike. What I have written for you will never be a copy of another person's life. Therefore, do not trade your peace simply to chase an image that the world calls success. Perhaps at this very moment, you still do not understand why some people appear and then leave your life. Some encounters seem as though they will last forever. Yet, in the end, only memories remain. Some promises were once beautiful, yet eventually faded with time. Do not let this cause you to close the door of your heart. Not everyone who enters your life is sent to stay forever. Some come to teach you a lesson. Some come to help you grow. Some are only a bridge leading you into the next season of your journey. When spring ends, petals fall, not because the tree has died, but to make room for the fruit that will come afterward. Learn to be grateful, even for farewells, because many times they have opened the way for more beautiful encounters than you could ever have imagined. I also want you to remember that forgiveness is first of all a gift for your own soul. When you continue to hold on to resentment, you may think you are punishing someone else, but in truth, you are imprisoning yourself in a room without windows. Forgiveness does not mean calling what is wrong right. Forgiveness is the decision not to let another person's darkness continue to control the light within your heart. On the cross, in the midst of unbearable pain, the prayer still rose, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." The strongest love is not love that has never been wounded, but love that still chooses mercy after passing through pain. If there are times when you feel that your prayers only reach the ceiling and fall back down, remember that silence does not mean absence. A sower does not dig up the soil every day to see whether the seed has begun to sprout. He trusts that beneath the dark soil, a miraculous work is taking place that ordinary eyes cannot see. Faith is the same. Some prayers must pass through many seasons before they bloom. Some answers need the right time before they become a blessing. If I gave you everything the moment you asked, many of those things might become burdens rather than gifts. My love is shown not only through what I give you, but also through what I delay in order to protect you. My beloved child, do not be afraid of the days when you must walk by faith rather than by feeling. There will be mornings when you wake up and do not sense the peace you felt yesterday. There will be times when prayer seems dry and scripture seems silent. Do not think that I have left you. True love is not measured by passing emotions. It is proven through faithfulness. just as the sun still exists behind layers of clouds. My presence does not disappear simply because you cannot feel it. What sustains you is not an emotion that is always strong, but a promise that never changes. Guard your heart against bitterness. Bitterness is like a tiny drop of poison falling into a clear stream. At first, you may not notice any difference, but over time it changes the taste of the entire river. Therefore, whenever a negative thought appears, do not feed it. Replace it with truth. When fear tells you that you are alone, remember my promise. I will never leave you, nor forsake you. When shame tells you that you are worthless, remember that you were created in the image of your Creator. When despair whispers that everything is over, remember the empty tomb on the morning of the resurrection. What seems to be an ending, in God's plan, is often only the beginning of new life. And then, as you continue walking, you will discover that the greatest miracle is not that circumstances always change according to your wishes, but that your own heart is being transformed day by day. The things that once made you angry will become no more than a gentle breeze. The fears that once kept you awake at night will no longer rule your mind. The wounds you thought would remain with you for the rest of your life will become testimonies of mercy. You will understand that the greatest miracle is not always found outside of you, but in the quiet work I am doing to renew you from within. This is the journey of grace, slow yet steadfast, silent yet powerful, until one day you look into the mirror and realize that you are no longer the person you were yesterday. Therefore, my beloved child, if you have walked with me this far through these words, do not let today's encounter remain only a beautiful feeling that fades with tomorrow's rhythm of life. Carry this peace into every word you speak, every decision you make, and every person you meet. When you step into the world with a heart that knows how to love, to be patient, to hope, and to trust, your very life will become a quiet yet powerful testimony, stronger than any sermon. And though there may still be unknown roads ahead, walk with the courage of one who knows that they are never alone. The light has found you. Love has called you by name. And with every faithful step you take in that light, you will gradually discover that what you thought you had been searching for all this time was quietly waiting for you to return. Then one day, when you look back upon the road you have traveled, you will realize that what sustained you was never merely your own strength. There were times when you thought you were walking alone through a dry and barren desert. But the footprints left in the sand were not there because I had abandoned you. They were there because I carried you through the places where you no longer had the strength to go on. People often recognize the hand of grace only after the storm has passed. But the truth is that even when the fiercest winds are beating against your life, the arms of love have never loosened their hold. Not seeing me does not mean that I am absent. Not understanding does not mean that everything is meaningless. There are chapters in the story of your life that will become clear only when you reach the final pages. Therefore, do not let your heart be deceived by the feeling of loneliness. Loneliness is an emotion, but it is not always the truth. There are long nights when you look up at the sky and see only a vast expanse of darkness. You think the light has disappeared, yet the stars are still there. Your eyes simply have not become accustomed to the night. In the same way, love is still surrounding you, even when you cannot feel it. Every breath you take is a gift. Every heartbeat within you is proof that your story is not yet over. Do not let one gloomy day make you forget that dawn is always on its way. My beloved child, what causes many souls to lose their way is not that they are too weak, but that they forget they were created to belong to the light. The world will try to tell you that your value lies in what you possess, in how many people recognize you, in the position you hold, or in the achievements you have accumulated. But all these things are as fragile as the morning mist. When the wind changes direction, they may disappear. If you build your identity upon things that easily change, your heart will also be shaken by every wave of life. But if you remember that your worth begins with the love you have been given, not with the achievements you have earned, you will stand firm, even when everything around you is changing. Remember the woman who had suffered from bleeding for 12 years. She had spent all that she had in search of healing, yet she did not improve. Perhaps there were many times when she thought her life had become nothing more than a long chain of disappointment. Yet, in the midst of the pressing crowd, she dared only to reach out and touch the hem of Jesus' garment with a small measure of faith. That very moment changed everything. The miracle did not happen because she was stronger than anyone else, but because, even in her deepest despair, she still held on to a small ray of hope. You are the same. Do not think that your faith is too small to matter. Do not despise the trembling prayer spoken through tears. One sincere cry from the heart is always more precious than 100 eloquent words that do not come from within. There are things you continue to hold on to because you are afraid that letting go will hurt too much. You cling to the regrets of yesterday. You tightly hold the painful words others once spoke over you. You store away your failures as though they were your true name. But ask yourself this: if your hands are always full of the stones of the past, what will you use to receive new seeds? Forgiveness is not denying what happened. Forgiveness is refusing to allow the past to continue ruling the present. Only when you release what weighs you down can your soul rise into the freedom I have always desired for you to live in. Perhaps you have heard the story of Zacchaeus, the tax collector despised by everyone. He climbed a sycamore tree simply because he wanted to see Jesus through the crowd. The wonder is that Jesus did not merely see him among the multitude. He called him by name. That is the beauty of true love. Love does not see you as a nameless face in a vast sea of people. Love knows your name. It knows the pain you have never spoken of. It knows the dreams you have not yet dared to say aloud. And even when the whole world sees only your mistakes, love still sees the possibility of renewal waiting to be awakened. Do not let fear become the guide of your life. Fear always tells you that you will fail one more time. Fear tells you that you are not capable of beginning again. Fear makes you stand before the door because you worry that disappointment lies on the other side. But faith does not mean that you no longer feel afraid. Faith is continuing to move forward even while your heart is trembling. Peter himself stepped out of the boat while the sea was still raging. He began to sink, not because the wind was too strong, but because his eyes turned away from the one he had been looking toward. This is true for you as well. When you look only at the storm, everything will seem frightening. But when you lift your eyes toward the source of hope, you will find strength to take one more step. Sometimes you ask why I do not show you the entire path from the beginning. If I did, perhaps you would become too afraid of the trials ahead or too proud of the glory that awaits you. Therefore, I give you only enough light for one step. Like a lamp in the night that illuminates only the road directly before you, that light does not reveal the entire journey. But it is always enough to keep you from stumbling if you continue walking. It is through each small step that faith is nourished. It is through each ordinary day that a person gradually becomes strong. Do not forget to care for the garden within your heart. A garden does not naturally produce fragrant flowers. If weeds are simply allowed to grow, before long they will cover every living seed. Your soul is the same. Every word of gratitude is a good seed. Every act of love is a refreshing drop of water. Each time you choose truth instead of falsehood, gentleness instead of anger, patience instead of revenge, you are cultivating flowers whose fragrance will one day bless others as well. Do not think that small acts of goodness are meaningless. A great stream always begins with very small springs. There are souls who spend their lives searching for great signs, yet overlook the miracles taking place every day. A child learning to smile, a stranger extending a helping hand, an apology spoken after years of silence, a family finding forgiveness again, a heart that was once closed now opening itself to love. These things may never appear on the front pages of the newspapers, but in heaven, every victory of love is worthy of rejoicing. Light does not always burst forth with thunder. Many times, it comes like a small candle in a dark room, quiet, yet enough to change everything. If one day you feel that you are moving too slowly, do not lose heart. A sturdy oak tree does not grow in only one rainy season. A river carves through stone cliffs, not through the force of one flow, but through relentless perseverance. Your soul is transformed in the same way. What matters is not how far you have gone today, but whether you are still facing toward the light. As long as you have not turned your back on what is good, your journey is still continuing. There will come a time when you encounter people who hurt you. Do not let bitterness become the language of your heart. Resentment is like drinking a cup of bitter medicine while hoping someone else will suffer the pain. I know forgiveness is not easy. Some wounds are very deep. Some memories still make your eyes sting whenever you remember them. But forgiveness is not saying that evil never happened. Forgiveness is the decision not to let evil continue multiplying within your heart. When you place justice in the hands of the righteous one and hold on to mercy for yourself, you will find a freedom that hatred can never give. And if today you are still wondering whether your life truly carries any meaning at all, listen deeply in the silence. Not one leaf falls from a branch outside the order of creation. Not one sincere tear falls without being treasured. Your life is not an accident either. Every ability, every gift, every experience, both joy and sorrow, can become material, woven into a story that brings hope to others. Perhaps you cannot see it today, but the day will come when you realize that even the roughest roads have helped bring you to the place you needed to reach. Therefore, when you close this day, do not carry too many worries into your sleep. Let your heart rest in hope. Tomorrow will still have its challenges, but it will also bring new mercies. Tomorrow may still have tears, but it will also hold smiles that have never appeared before. What you do not have today does not mean you will never have it. What you do not understand today does not mean it will remain a mystery forever. Continue walking with a humble heart, a grateful spirit, and a faith that is continually renewed. For on every path of this journey, what guides you is not your own perfection, but the love that always invites you to rise after every fall, to keep walking toward the light, to keep living in hope, and to keep allowing your heart to become a place where peace can spread to everyone around you. And then one day, when you look back upon the path you have traveled, you will realize that what preserved you was not always your own strength. There were mornings when you thought you no longer had the courage to rise, and yet you kept going. There were long nights when you thought sorrow would drown every hope, and yet dawn still came to the window of your life. There were fierce storms that made you believe everything was over. But after all was said and done, what remained was not ruin, but a heart that had become more mature, more gentle, and more loving. That is what I have been quietly doing on the days you did not notice. You often look only at the result, but I look at the journey. You often count what you have lost, but I see what has been preserved. For there are many disasters I quietly prevented before they ever reached your life. Many turns in the road I redirected without your knowledge. And many doors I closed because behind them were tears that you mistook for happiness. For this reason, do not let your heart become bitter simply because some prayers have not been answered in the way you desired. A gardener does not water every plant with the same amount of water, because each kind of plant needs different care in order to grow. If you believe that I know every hair on your head, then also believe that I know what will cause your soul to bloom in its proper season. There are things you ask for that may bring you joy for a moment, but wound you later. There are things you are afraid to face that are actually the path leading you toward healing. Therefore, when you do not understand the meaning of what is happening, let faith lead your steps instead of confusion. As the book of Proverbs says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding." This is not an invitation to abandon reason, but an invitation for the heart to humble itself before a wisdom greater than its own. Perhaps what hurts you most is not the wounds others have caused, but the feeling that you no longer have value. The world often measures you by what you can accomplish, by the status you hold, by the number of people who praise you, and by the successes others can see. But I have never used those scales. From the beginning, your value was not determined by achievement, but by the love that created you. A coin that falls into the mud does not lose its value. A pearl covered in dust is still a pearl. What needs to change is not your true nature, but the layers of fear, shame, and disappointment that cover the light already within you. Do not let temporary failures convince you that you were born only to live a small life. Within every soul is a seed of hope that I planted long ago. And if you continue to nourish it with faith, in its proper time, it will become a tree that gives shade not only to your own life, but also to many others. Remember the woman who touched the hem of Jesus' garment in the crowd. For 12 years, she carried pain, shame, and the feeling of being rejected. She no longer hoped for a great and dramatic miracle. She only hoped to touch what she believed was the source of healing. Her faith was not loud or showy, but sincere, and it was that sincerity that opened the way to a new beginning. Her story still reminds you today that sometimes what changes a life is not a loud cry in a public square, but a very small prayer offered with all the heart. Do not think that you must become a perfect person before you can draw near to the light. If only perfect people were worthy of love, then no one would be qualified to come near the source of grace. What I seek is always a heart that is willing to open. When a door is left slightly open, light will find its way in. When a heart becomes soft again, peace will begin to take root. Perhaps today you still carry many questions without answers. Perhaps there are still tears that have not yet dried. But do not wait until everything becomes clear before you begin to hope. Hope often appears before you see the result, just as dawn has already begun while the sky is still dark. I know that sometimes you grow tired of having to appear strong before everyone. You smile so that others will not worry, while your own heart is the one needing comfort. You say that you are fine, simply because you do not want anyone to be concerned. But my beloved child, a heart also needs rest, just as feet need rest after a long journey. Do not be afraid of quiet moments. It is in silence that you will hear more clearly the voice of your conscience, the call of love, and the hope that the hurried pace of life often makes you forget. The Psalms remind you, "Be still, and know that I am God." There are truths that cannot be discovered through haste, but only through peace. Then there will come a time when you are given the opportunity to become the answer to someone else's prayer. One word of encouragement from you may lift up someone who is in despair. One act of forgiveness from you may end years of resentment. One quiet act of kindness from you may become the sign that helps someone believe that love still exists in the world. Never underestimate small acts of goodness. The light of one candle cannot replace the sun, but it is enough to help someone find the way through the night. In the same way, you do not need to do everything for everyone. You only need to remain faithful to the good that has been placed within your reach today. If one day you feel lost again, do not rush to conclude that you have returned to the beginning. A mountain climber often has to go around cliffs in order to keep moving upward. From below, you may think you are moving farther away from the summit, but in truth, you are only finding a safer path. Life is the same. Some detours are not meaningless delays. but preparation for you to become strong enough to enter something greater. Therefore, instead of only asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try quietly asking, "What is being formed within me through this experience?" Sometimes that answer will open an entirely new way of seeing. And if today your heart still carries some hesitation, still standing between light and darkness, between hope and disappointment, then remember that every new day is an invitation to begin again. You are not imprisoned by yesterday. You are not defined by old mistakes. What has passed may leave lessons, but it does not have to determine your future. Every morning is an opportunity to choose a little more love, a little more forgiveness, a little more gratitude, and a little more sincerity. Those small choices, repeated with perseverance, will gradually transform your entire life. Therefore, if you have walked with me to the final lines of this reflection, do not let the words that have just touched your heart fade away as soon as you return to the rhythm of daily life. Carry that peace into every encounter, every word, and every decision. Let kindness be what others recognize in you, even before they notice your achievements. Let gentleness be stronger than anger, gratitude greater than complaint, and hope more enduring than every fear. And should your heart grow weary again, remember that the journey toward the light is not the journey of those who have never fallen, but of those who continually choose to rise again with a humble heart and a faith that is constantly renewed. As you continue walking in love, mercy, and sincerity, you will come to see that the most precious thing you have long been seeking is not waiting at the end of the road, but has been quietly walking beside you from the very beginning, with every step you take. So, when you leave this moment and return to the familiar rhythm of your life, I hope you will not carry away only a few words lingering in your memory, but a heart that has grown gentler. The world will continue telling you that you must run faster, become stronger, and prove your worth through things others can see. But I do not look at you in that way. What I seek has never been the crowns you wear upon your head, but the peace you are able to preserve within your soul on storm-filled days. So many people walk with smiles upon their lips, while hope within them has run dry. So many are praised by the whole world. Yet when night falls, they cannot find a peaceful sleep. Therefore, do not let your eyes remain fixed only on outward things. Learn to care for the deepest part of yourself, the place no one but me can see, because it is there that the strength to stand firm or the weakness to fall when storms arrive will be decided. My beloved child, there are storms I do not prevent, because it is within those storms that you will discover what calm and windless days could never teach you. Remember the disciples as they drifted upon the sea. The waves crashed violently. The winds rose into a fierce storm, and the little boat seemed as though it could sink at any moment. They were terrified because all they could see were the waves rising higher and higher, until their eyes met their teacher walking upon the water. What changed was not that the storm disappeared at once. What changed was the presence that brought hope in the midst of the storm. So it is in your life. There are times when I do not immediately quiet every trial, but I walk with you through it so that you may understand that true strength does not come from a life that is always easy, but from knowing that you never have to walk alone. Therefore, when you feel surrounded by anxiety, do not quickly conclude that I am far away. Sometimes the only thing that hides me from you is not distance, but the mist of fear within your own heart. When dawn rises, the sun has not suddenly appeared. It has been there throughout the long night. It is simply that darkness has kept human eyes from seeing the light. My love is the same. It does not come and go according to your emotions. It does not grow greater when you succeed, nor does it become smaller when you fail. It is more steadfast than you can imagine, because it is built upon mercy, not upon achievement. I know there have been times when you prayed with more tears than words. There were nights when you did not know what to ask for, when all you could do was sigh in exhaustion. You thought those prayers were too weak to reach heaven. But remember that there are sighs I understand more clearly than the most carefully spoken words. There are tears that the world may see only as signs of weakness. Yet to me they are the truest prayers of all. The psalmist once spoke of me counting every tear you shed and storing them in my bottle. That image is not meant to describe a literal vessel, but to reveal that not one of your sorrows is forgotten. Nothing you have silently endured has ever been meaningless in my sight. There will come a time when you look back upon the path you have traveled and are amazed to realize that you were guided far more than you once knew. There were doors that closed and made you weep. Yet years later, you will give thanks that they never opened. There were people who left your life and broke your heart. But in time, you will understand that, had they remained, you could not have reached the place where I desired to lead you. There were plans that seemed completely shattered. Yet from those very fragments I was putting together something more beautiful than anything you had imagined. The weaver sees the entire tapestry, while the one standing behind it sees only tangled threads. You are living on the underside of the tapestry, while I see the whole picture. Do not allow the past to become a prison that holds your present captive. The past may be a teacher, but do not let it become your jailer. I do not deny what you have been through. The wounds are real. The losses are real. The betrayals. The words that hurt you. The lonely seasons. All of them are real. But they are not the final chapter of your story. If you continue living only in the memories of what has already passed, you will miss the new season blooming before your eyes. As the prophet Isaiah said, "Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? Every dawn carries an invitation to begin again. And my grace is new every morning." Do not let your heart become hardened simply because you have been hurt before. A seed can grow only in soil that still knows how to soften beneath the rain. If you close your heart so that you may no longer feel pain, you may also unknowingly close the door to joy, healing, and love. Wisdom is not refusing to love in order to avoid disappointment. Wisdom is loving sincerely while placing your foundation upon what does not change. People may change. Circumstances may change. But mercy remains the path that draws you ever closer to the light. Perhaps you have thought that only great and remarkable things have meaning before me. But look at how a seed quietly breaks open beneath the soil. No one hears it growing. No one applauds the roots as they sink deep into the ground. Yet that hidden work determines the life and strength of the great tree that will one day stand above it. The good things you do in secret are the same. A word of comfort offered to someone in despair. Forgiveness given to someone who never expected to receive it. A hand extended at the right moment. A prayer lifted for another person when no one else knows. These things may seem small in the eyes of the world, but they carry the fragrance of love and are never wasted. Do not fear silence. Many people seek me only in extraordinary things, yet they miss me in the simplicity of each day. I am present in the first sunlight streaming through the window. I am present in the sound of birds calling to one another as dawn awakens. I am present in the peaceful breath for which you often forget to give thanks. I am present in the stranger who smiles at you in a crowded street. I am present in the friend who listens without judging. I am present in every small opportunity for you to be kinder than you were yesterday. When your heart learns to slow down, you will begin to see that this world is still covered with countless signs of hope. Do not think that light is meant only for joyful days. It is in the darkest nights that even a small lamp becomes precious. You do not need to wait until your life is perfect before becoming a source of encouragement to someone else. Sometimes your scars are the very place where others find the courage to continue walking. Those who have been comforted know how to comfort. Those who have been forgiven understand the value of mercy. Those who have been lifted up are not quick to turn away from someone who has fallen. Therefore, do not be ashamed of your journey. When you allow love to transform it, that very journey will become the most beautiful testimony of hope. I also desire for you to learn how to forgive yourself. There are people who are willing to believe that I can forgive the whole world, yet they do not believe that I can forgive them. They carry guilt from year to year, as though such a burden could somehow make them more worthy. But true humility is not found in endlessly condemning yourself. It is found in trusting enough to receive mercy. If you have repented and chosen to walk in what is good, do not continue living as one chained by what I have already unlocked. Let grace do what only grace can do. Turn the past into a lesson, not into a sentence. My beloved child, remember that every person you meet is carrying a story you do not fully know. The person who smiles at you may have just suffered a great loss. The difficult person may be fighting a pain they do not know how to express. The silent person may be praying for only one person willing to listen. Therefore, treat everyone with kindness. Kindness does not make you weak. On the contrary, it is a gentle strength that can heal what harshness will never be able to touch. And then, as the day slowly comes to an end and you look up at the sky changing colors in the sunset, I hope you will remember that another day has passed, not so that you may regret what you have not achieved, but so that you may give thanks that you still have opportunities to love, to repair, to grow, and to hope. Do not close your eyes in bitterness. Close your eyes with gratitude, for a grateful heart will always find something worth hoping for, even when circumstances have not yet changed. If you still remember the first thing I whispered to you, then hold on to it in the days ahead. Do not rush past the invitations that lead you toward the light simply because life is too busy. Moments that seem very small can become the turning point of an entire life. What matters is not how far you may once have wandered, but whether today you are willing to return to what is good. As long as you remain open to hope, as long as you keep within yourself even a small spark of faith, as long as you choose love rather than despair, you have never truly been lost. You are still on the road home, one step at a time, and every step is upheld by a love that is steadfast, patient, and never ceases to call you forward into the light, where peace is no longer a distant dream, but becomes the place where your soul may truly rest. From that very moment, you will gradually begin to understand that what gives strength to a soul is not never having fallen, but always knowing how to turn its eyes back toward the light after each stumble. I do not count your failures the way you so often condemn yourself for them. What I see is that every time you choose to rise again, another space opens within your heart for wisdom to fill. Another stillness is made for mercy to speak. People often fear their cracks because they believe those cracks lessen their worth. But sometimes it is through those very cracks that light is able to enter. A heart that has never known pain finds it difficult to understand gentleness. A soul that has never known loss finds it difficult to recognize the value of what it still possesses. Therefore, do not be too quick to curse the winters of your life. Beneath the frozen ground, the seed is quietly preparing for a spring that no one has yet seen. There are nights when you lie awake, looking up at the sky and wondering whether your prayers are truly being heard. You have called out in silence, cried when no one was near, and often felt as though the words you spoke simply disappeared into an endless emptiness. But, my beloved child, silence does not always mean absence. A farmer does not dig up the soil every day to see whether the seed has begun to sprout. He patiently waters it and patiently waits, because he understands that life always carries out its work in secret. What I am doing within you is the same. There are prayers answered quickly so that you may know I am listening. There are also prayers held for longer so that you may learn to trust even when your eyes cannot yet see the result. Faith does not grow when everything is clear. Faith grows when you continue walking through what has not yet been explained. Remember the woman who touched the hem of Jesus' garment in the crowd. 12 years of suffering had left her with little hope. Yet the miracle did not begin with healing. It began with her decision to take one more step in faith. Among the countless people pressing around him, only one touch, born of faith, brought forth the manifestation of power. That story is not only about physical healing. It reminds you that very small moments can change an entire life. One decision to forgive, one sincere prayer, one moment of opening your heart after too many years of closing it, one choice to believe that tomorrow still holds hope. These seemingly small things are often the very places where the destiny of a soul begins to turn. Do not let the world make you believe that your worth is measured by speed, status, or the admiration of others. An oak tree does not envy a flower because it blooms sooner. A river does not try to become a mountain. Every created thing is beautiful when it lives according to the purpose for which it was made. So it is with you. I have never created two souls exactly alike. What I have placed within you is unique. And what I desire from you is not that you become a copy of anyone else. If you keep looking at the lives of others in order to judge your own, you will miss the most precious gift of all, recognizing what I quietly planted in your heart from the very beginning. There are gifts that are not loud. There are callings that do not stand upon a stage. There are good works seen only by me, but everything done in love is never meaningless. My beloved child, perhaps what weighs most heavily upon your heart is not that the world has been too harsh, but that you have been too harsh with yourself. You easily forgive others, yet you keep your own mistakes as though they were a sentence that will never end. You remember every time you spoke wrongly, every opportunity you missed, every decision that left you with regret. Then you allow the past to become a shadow that covers your present. But consider this. If a gardener looked only at fallen leaves, would he still have enough joy to notice the new shoots emerging? I am not telling you to forget the past. I am teaching you to learn from it so that you will no longer be bound by it. Sincere repentance opens the door to freedom, while endless self-torment only leaves you standing at that door, too afraid to enter. And there will come a time when you understand that peace does not arrive when every problem disappears, but when your heart knows it is no longer alone in the midst of those problems. You may still have to walk through the valley, but you no longer walk alone. You may still face opposing winds, but you no longer struggle forward by your own strength alone. What changes everything is not always the outer circumstance, but the quiet transformation taking place within your soul. Once your heart is filled with hope, even rainy days begin to carry a different meaning. Once you learn to give thanks, even the most ordinary things become blessings. Perhaps you have never noticed that the most beautiful things I have placed in this world all teach you about patience. Dawn does not hurry. Rivers do not compete. Spring does not arrive before its appointed time. Fruit does not force itself to ripen more quickly. All creation quietly lives according to the rhythm I have set in place. Only human beings often exhaust themselves by wanting everything to happen at once. You run after clocks, goals, and pressures created by yourself or by the world, and then forget that the soul also needs rest. Learn from the field after the rain. It does not rush to bloom in that very moment. Yet every drop of water is preparing the life that will appear at just the right time. Therefore, if today you are still waiting for something your heart deeply longs for, continue walking with a peaceful heart. Do not let impatience steal the joy of the present. Some gifts are truly beautiful only when you have matured enough to receive them. Some doors should open only when you have grown wise enough to walk through them. What you call delay is often simply love, protecting you from what is not yet right for this season. I also want you to learn to see others through more generous eyes. Every person you meet is carrying a story you do not yet know. Some smile while having just endured a loss. Some remain silent because they are fighting pains they cannot put into words. Some appear strong only to hide a heart that has been weary for a very long time. Therefore, let your words become a place of rest rather than a burden. Let your presence bring more peace than judgment. A kind word can sometimes become the one thing that keeps someone from falling apart that day. You will never fully know the power of compassion until you become the one who gives it to another. If there are times when you feel too small in this vast world, lift your eyes to the star-filled sky. Every star has its own place. No star needs to cover another star's light in order to shine. You do not need to become great in the eyes of the whole world for your life to have meaning. Simply remain faithful to what is good each day, and that light will reach farther than you can imagine. Many beautiful things in this world do not begin with extraordinary acts, but with ordinary people who choose to live with hearts full of love. And then, when you look back upon the road you have traveled, you will realize that the most precious thing is not how much you have possessed, but what kind of person you have become. For all possessions will eventually pass away, and all fame will fade. But a soul that knows how to love, hope, and live in the light will always leave an indelible mark upon the lives of those it encounters. That is the greatest gift a soul can offer to the world. So, my beloved child, if you are still here at this very moment, hold this gentle reminder close within your heart. Do not return to darkness simply because it is familiar. Do not trade lasting peace for things that shine only for a moment. Every morning you wake is a new invitation to begin again. Every breath is a new opportunity to love more deeply, forgive more freely, and walk closer toward the light. Even if you walk slowly, as long as you do not stop turning toward what is good, your journey will never be in vain. One day, when you look back, you will smile as you realize that the small steps, the quiet tears, and the times you chose hope in the midst of adversity have woven you into the person you were always invited to become. And in that peace, you will understand that what matters most is not how far you have traveled, but that you have never stopped allowing your heart to turn toward the light, toward love, and toward the hope that is continually kindled through each day of life. One day, when you look back upon the road you have traveled, you will realize how many times I quietly held you up at the very moment you thought you were about to fall. There were events you once called misfortunes, but years later, you came to understand that if that door had not closed, you would have stepped into a path far more painful. There were separations that made you weep until your tears ran dry. Yet that very emptiness made room for people who would bring peace into your life. There were prayers that seemed to fall into an endless silence. Yet I was still working quietly where your eyes could not see. What you call the silence of heaven is often simply the time needed for the seed of hope to sink its roots deep before rising into a great tree. Do not be too afraid of the winters of the soul. No forest remains green all year long. No field stays forever radiant beneath the sun. Even the nature I created needs seasons of stillness in order to be renewed. When leaves fall, people see only decay, but I see preparation. A tree does not die in winter. It preserves life in the deepest part of its roots. You are the same. There are seasons when I allow you to slow down, not because you have lost your worth, but because you need to rediscover what matters most. The world constantly urges you to grow faster, succeed faster, and stand out faster. But I am not in a hurry. What I am building is not merely the achievements of one lifetime, but the beauty of a soul that knows how to love, endure, and place its trust in what is good even before it sees the outcome. Perhaps you have often blamed yourself for the things you have not yet accomplished. You compare yourself with others and then conclude that you are too slow, too weak, too ordinary. But my beloved child, who taught you that you must measure your worth by speed? Who made you believe that only great things are worthy of being treasured? Remember that when Jesus sat opposite the offering box, he did not praise those who gave the most, but he noticed the poor widow who offered only 2 small coins. What moves heaven is not the amount, but the heart. The world often looks at what you possess. My love looks instead at what you are willing to give. A sincere word of encouragement, an embrace for someone who is lonely, a forgiveness no one knows about, a quiet prayer in the middle of the night. None of these things are small in my eyes. Therefore, do not allow your heart to become hardened simply because the world has disappointed you many times. A garden that has endured storms can still bloom when it is cared for with love. Your soul is the same. I know there are wounds that cannot be seen with the eyes. There are words spoken long ago that still echo in your memory. Someone once told you that you were not good enough. Someone turned away when you needed them most. Someone made you believe that you were unworthy of love. But I do not want you to turn those voices into the definition of your life. The voice of the past has no right to determine your future. The one thing I want you to remember is that you always have worth, not because you have never fallen, but because love sees dignity, even while you are still learning how to rise again. There is something you need to learn on this journey. You must be patient with yourself. You are often generous with others, yet far too harsh with your own heart. When others make mistakes, you can easily say that they are only human. But when you fall, you condemn yourself with the cruelest words. My beloved child, if I am still patient with you, why can you not be patient with yourself? Let every day become an opportunity to grow, not a courtroom in which you judge yourself. One who is learning to walk will sometimes fall. One who is learning to love will sometimes be hurt. One who is learning to hope will sometimes wade through tears. But what matters is not that you have never fallen, but that after every fall, you still allow the light to lead you back to your feet. Do not forget that gratitude is one of the widest doors leading you into peace. When you look only at what you do not have, life will always seem lacking. But when you learn to see what has been given to you, you will realize that you are richer than you once believed. A new day in which to breathe, a sky that is still blue, the laughter of a loved one, the eyes of a child, the fragrance of the first rain of the season, a simple meal, someone who still remembers you in prayer. These are all quiet gifts that I faithfully place into your life each day. Miracles do not exist only in extraordinary things. They also hide within the simple things you may pass by so easily without even stopping to smile. Do not let fear of the future steal the joy of the present either. How many times have you spent an entire day worrying about things that may never happen? You create storms in your mind before they have even appeared, and then you leave your own heart exhausted. Look at the birds of the air and the flowers of the field. They do not know what tomorrow will bring, yet they still sing each morning and bloom in their proper season. This is not because they understand everything, but because they live in trust. I invite you into that same trust, not by denying hardship, but by believing that even if hardship comes, you will not have to face it alone. There will come a time when you realize that what I desire in you is not a life without tears, but a heart that still has the capacity to love after being wounded. The greatest wonder of light is not that it has never encountered darkness, but that it has never allowed darkness to become its nature. You are the same. Do not let those who treated you unjustly turn you into a cold-hearted person. Do not let betrayal destroy your faith in goodness. Do not let pain make you close yourself off forever. Let what you have endured become a source of compassion for others, rather than a wall separating you from the world. I also want you to remember that forgiveness does not mean denying the wrong that has taken place. Forgiveness is the decision not to let the wound continue to control your soul. Some people may never apologize to you. Some questions may never receive a complete explanation. If you wait for everything to become perfect before you let go, you may carry that burden for the rest of your life. Forgiveness does not change the past, but it frees the future. When you lay down the stone of resentment, your hands become light enough to receive the good things I am placing before you. My beloved child, learn to listen to the quiet spaces. The world is filled with more and more voices, yet the soul grows weary more easily. Not every answer comes in noise. Sometimes a peaceful morning, an open page of scripture, a brief prayer, or simply a few moments sitting quietly beneath the sky can be enough to help you find your direction again. Peace does not always arrive as an overwhelming emotion. Often, it comes very softly, like the first sunlight slipping through a window, like a gentle breeze touching your face after a long night. This is often how I come to your soul with gentleness. If today you still carry a beautiful dream within you, please do not let it die simply because you have failed a few times. Many seeds take a long time to sprout. Many rivers must pass through rocky rapids before finding the great sea. What I have placed in your heart through love will not easily be erased by a few contrary winds. Continue sowing what is good. Continue being kind when no one is watching. Continue choosing honesty in a world filled with falsehood. Continue loving even when you have not been loved in the way you hoped. Every good deed done with a pure heart is like a seed planted in the field of hope. Perhaps today you do not yet see the harvest, but that does not mean the seed has been lost. And if you have remained with these words until now, let them be a peaceful pause in the midst of life's many demands. Not because all your problems have been solved, but because your heart has remembered something very important. You are not alone on the road you are walking. Though tomorrow may bring new trials, though there may still be rough paths ahead, do not let fear become your guide. Let love lead you forward. Let hope lift you up after every fall. Let mercy soften your heart whenever you feel like closing it. And above all, always remember that light never grows weary of finding its way to those who are still willing to open the door of their hearts. As long as you keep even a small spark of faith within you, like a lamp in the middle of the night, the journey back to peace will always remain before you, one step at a time, one day at a time, in gentleness, patience, and love that never ceases to grow. As you continue walking, there will be days when you feel as though you have not moved forward at all. You look back and see only the same cycles of worry, the same temptations, the same weariness that has followed you for years. At times, you may wonder whether you are truly changing or whether you are simply trying, only to return again to where you began. But my beloved child, a seed sprouting beneath the ground cannot see itself growing either. Every day, it quietly sends its roots deeper until one morning, the earth opens and a tender shoot appears. What you cannot see does not mean it is not happening. Some of the deepest works are always done in silence. In the place where no one applauds and no one sees, I am still patiently shaping your soul each day. Therefore, do not lose heart simply because you have not yet seen the fruit. The world often celebrates the harvest but forgets the roots. But I always begin with the roots. If the roots are deep enough, the storm cannot uproot the tree. If the foundation is strong enough, the house will stand firm in wind and rain. In the same way, what I am building within you is not a fleeting happiness, but a peace that can remain even when circumstances have not changed. It is the kind of peace the world cannot give, and therefore cannot take away from you. Perhaps you have blamed me for doors that closed too quickly. You prayed, hoped, and prepared your whole heart, yet things still did not unfold as you desired. You thought you had lost the most beautiful thing, but as time passed, you came to understand that some things, if they had been placed in your hands at that time, would have become burdens you were not yet strong enough to carry. A wise father does not hand a sharp sword to a child simply because the child cries for it. It is not because he is stingy, but because he loves. True love always sees farther than the desire of the present moment. Many times, you call it rejection, while I call it protection. Remember the story of Abraham. He waited a very long time to receive the promise of a son. The years followed one another. His hair gradually turned gray. His body grew weaker. Yet the promise had still not been fulfilled. If seen only through human eyes, all hope seemed to have vanished. But in the season that appeared far too late, what had been promised came to pass. That story is not only about a miracle, it is also about a heart that knows how to wait. Some of the most beautiful things in life are not born from haste, but from perseverance watered by faith. My child, I also want you to learn how to forgive yourself. Some people have received forgiveness from others, yet they continue to imprison themselves in the cage of shame. They return again and again to old mistakes, as though blaming themselves long enough could change the past. But the past cannot be changed through self-punishment. It can only be illuminated by mercy and maturity. Forgiving yourself does not mean denying what was wrong. It means accepting that grace has the power to be stronger than failure. When you learn this, you will stop seeing yourself through the eyes of condemnation and begin to see yourself through the hope of a new beginning. Do not be afraid if you sometimes feel too small in this vast world. The sea is made of countless drops of water. A forest is formed from very small seeds. A song is written one note at a time. And a meaningful life is woven from the simple good deeds you quietly perform each day. A smile for someone who is desperate. A word of encouragement for someone on the verge of giving up. An embrace for someone who has just lost something precious. You do not know how far these things may reach, but I know sincere love always leaves marks that even the one who sows it may never see. There will be times when you walk through dry lands of the soul. You pray and feel nothing. You read words filled with hope, yet your heart remains heavy. You may think that you are very far away, but remember the journey of the Israelites in the wilderness. The wilderness was not the place where I abandoned them. It was the place where I taught them to trust day by day. Every morning, there was manna. Every journey had a cloud to lead them by day and a pillar of fire to give them light by night. You may not always recognize that presence, but what you do not recognize may still be what is supporting you step by step. I do not want you to seek me only in extraordinary things. Often, you lift your eyes searching for miracles in the heavens and forget that I still visit your life through the simplest things. A morning when you wake with peaceful breath, a stranger who smiles at you at the very moment you need encouragement, a small door opening after many days that seemed hopeless, a song suddenly touching something you could not express, a passage of scripture appearing at the very moment you need it most. These things are not loud, but they are enough to remind you that you have never been forgotten. There will also be times when you must learn to be silent, not the silence of despair, but the silence of trust. Some questions today have no answers. Some losses cannot be explained in only a few words. Some tears will remain for a while longer. Yet even when you do not understand everything, you can still choose to believe that love has not left you. Faith is not knowing every answer. Faith is daring to hold the hand of the one who leads you, even when you cannot yet see the whole road ahead. My beloved child, if your heart is weary today because you have tried for too long, rest for a while. Not rest in order to give up, but rest so that you may be renewed. An eagle cannot fly endlessly without moments of gliding quietly upon the wind. The land also needs seasons of rest so that it may bear more fruit. You are the same. Do not believe that your worth lies only in what you are able to accomplish. There are days when the most beautiful thing you can do is simply remain in peace, allowing your heart to be healed little by little. Then one day, when you look back on the whole road you have traveled, You will realize that what made you strong was not that you had never wept, but that after every time you cried, you still chose to love. Not that you had never been disappointed, but that after every disappointment, you still held on to hope. Not that you had never stumbled, but that each time you rose again, you became more humble, more compassionate, and more understanding toward others. These are the true signs of the beauty of a soul that is growing. Therefore, do not let fear of tomorrow steal the peace of today. Do not let the noisy voices of the world drown out the gentle call of love. Take one step at a time, with a grateful heart that you still have the opportunity to love, to make amends, to begin again, and to become better than you were yesterday, wherever you may be on your journey. Remember that light never invites you through force. Light simply waits patiently, asking you to open your heart and come closer. And each time you choose truth instead of deception, kindness instead of bitterness, forgiveness instead of hatred, and hope instead of despair, you allow that light to grow within your life. This is not a single moment, but the journey of an entire lifetime, woven together through countless small yet sincere choices. Along that journey, whether you walk slowly or quickly, what matters most is that you continue to turn toward what is good. For it is there that your heart will gradually find the rest it has long been seeking. And then there will come a day when, as you look back on the path you have walked, you will realize that many turns which seemed accidental were actually connected by an invisible thread of grace. The doors that once closed protected you from depths you had never seen. The rejections that once made you weep opened a path you had never imagined before. Even the times when you thought you had been left behind were simply moments when I was holding you back so that you would not step into a season that was not yet yours. Human beings often understand only a very small part of the picture, but I see the whole scene from beginning to end. Therefore, if today you still do not understand everything that is happening, allow your heart to rest in the trust that a wisdom greater than your own is quietly guiding every step you take. My beloved child, there is one thing I do not want you ever to lose: the ability to hope. Hope is not blind optimism that denies reality. Hope is the light that is preserved even in the midst of darkness. Just as the small lamp in the ancient temple was carefully tended so that it would never go out, you too must guard the flame within your soul. There may be days when the winds are strong. There may be storms that seem powerful enough to extinguish everything good. But as long as you shelter that flame with faith, I will add oil to your lamp. This is why the scriptures repeatedly call people to remain watchful. For a light that is not cared for does not fade in a single moment, but through many small acts of neglect. Do not allow your heart to become hardened by the wounds of the past. A barren land is not barren because the sky has stopped sending rain, but because the ground has closed itself to the water. I know that you have been disappointed. I know that you have offered sincerity and received only coldness in return. I know that there are words which have remained in your memory far longer than they deserve to. But do not let those things turn your heart into a field that can no longer welcome spring. What the world needs is not another closed heart, but another person brave enough to continue loving after being healed. True love always requires courage, because to love is to accept that you may be wounded again. Yet it is through that love that you will discover your soul becoming wider, gentler, and more like the goodness I placed within you from the very beginning. Perhaps you once believed that strength meant never crying, but I see strength in tears that are offered with sincerity. Jesus himself wept before the tomb of Lazarus. Those tears were not signs of weakness, but evidence of love. Therefore, if you are grieving today, do not be ashamed of it. What matters is not that you have never cried, but that after those tears, you still allow your heart to turn toward the light instead of sinking into despair. There are pains that may not disappear immediately, but they can be transformed. When you place them in my hands, they will no longer be chains holding you back, but scars reminding you that you were preserved so that you could continue walking forward. I also want you to learn to be patient with yourself. Many times, you treat yourself more harshly than you treat others. You forgive the mistakes of everyone else, yet you continue holding on to your own. You encourage others to rise again, but do not allow yourself to begin anew. Remember that the growth of the soul is like the growth of a tree. No one pulls at its branches to make it grow taller more quickly. The gardener simply tends the soil, gives it water, and waits for the right season. You are the same. Remain faithful to what is good each day, and time will do its part. Do not force yourself to become a perfect version of yourself all at once. Simply be faithful to today's step, and tomorrow will bring new strength. Do not underestimate the value of silence. In a world where everyone is trying to say so much, sometimes what the soul needs most is a quiet space in which to listen. Some answers do not come in noise. Some healing begins only when you stop trying to control everything. Give yourself moments simply to sit still, breathe deeply, and recognize that life is still flowing through every beat of your heart. In that stillness, you will see the worries that once seemed so large begin to grow smaller. You will realize that not every problem needs to be solved today. Some things simply need to be entrusted in faith. My beloved child, be careful with the way you speak about your own life. Words have the power to plant seeds in the soul. If every day you repeat that you are a failure, that you are useless, that you have no hope left, those words will gradually build walls that imprison you. But if you learn to speak with gratitude, hope, and humility, you will open windows through which light can enter. This does not mean denying hardship. It means choosing not to let hardship have the final word. The final word always belongs to love, because love is stronger and more enduring than every change brought by time. Remember the story of the two disciples on the road to Emmaus. They walked in disappointment, believing that all hope had come to an end. The one they loved and honored had been crucified, and they thought the story was over. Yet on that very road of disappointment, Jesus quietly walked beside them. Though at first they did not recognize him, only when he broke the bread were their eyes opened, and they understood that they had never been alone. Your life will also have such seasons. There may be times when you think you are walking by yourself, but one day, as you look back, you will realize how many times a gentle presence was beside you when your eyes were not yet clear enough to see it. Do not live only while waiting for a better future, and forget that today is also a gift. Many people spend their whole lives saying that they will be happy once they have enough, when they have a better job, when they have more money, when every problem has been solved. But peace does not begin with perfect circumstances. Peace begins when you learn to be fully present in the moment you have been given. Today, you can still love. Today, you can still speak a kind word. Today, you can still give thanks for the breath within you. And today is where life is happening. Do not let your soul remain trapped in yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's worries and lose the gift of the present. If one day you encounter someone who has fallen, do not be quick to ask where they went wrong. Ask instead what they need. Some souls do not need another long sermon. They simply need someone willing to sit beside them in silence. The Good Samaritan did not argue over whether the wounded man deserved help. He simply bent down, dressed his wounds, and brought him to a place of safety. That is how mercy always acts. When you become a source of comfort to others, your own soul will also be made richer. My beloved child, do not forget that every day is an opportunity to begin again. No one can return to change yesterday, but everyone can walk through today with a new heart. If you have ever lost your way, turn back. If you have ever lost hope, rekindle the flame. If you have ever allowed fear to control you, let faith gently guide your steps. Every dawn carries the reminder that light still overcomes darkness. And every time you choose what is good, even in the smallest act, you are helping make this world a little brighter. Therefore, as these words begin to draw to a close, do not see them as an ending. Let them become a seed planted in your heart. Perhaps today that seed is still very small. Perhaps you cannot yet see anything changing. But if you continue to care for it with gratitude, with prayer, with quiet acts of goodness, and with a heart always turned toward what is right, one day it will grow into a tree broad enough not only to shelter you, but also those who are weary along life's road. And when that day comes, perhaps you will smile in peace, realizing that what was most precious was not that you had never been lost, but that in the moments when you seemed lost, you never stopped choosing to return to the light, becoming step by step the loving, compassionate, and hopeful person I have always desired you to be from the very beginning. And from that very peace, you will gradually discover something you may never have fully understood before. What makes a soul beautiful is not that it has never fallen, but that after every fall, it still has enough humility to rise again and continue moving toward what is good. On this earth, no life is completely free from dark days. Even the greenest forests must pass through winter. Even the gentlest river has had to make its way through sharp rocks. Yet, it is those difficult seasons that make life more resilient. Therefore, do not be ashamed when you remember the paths you once walked wrongly. If today you have turned your face toward the light, then the old days are no longer chains, but quiet lessons that support your steps. Perhaps what hurts you most is not your own failures, but the feeling that you have disappointed others. You remember the words you spoke in anger. You remember the opportunities you missed because you hesitated. You remember those who left while your heart had not yet found the chance to apologize. These memories sometimes return like a cold wind in the middle of the night, making you wonder whether you are still worthy of hope. But think of a gardener. When the gardener sees a dry branch, they do not immediately conclude that the whole garden is dead. They patiently cut away the withered part so that the life within may continue nourishing new shoots. Your life is the same. No one can change yesterday, but every new day gives you the opportunity to write a continuation more beautiful than the chapter before. Do not let regret become a permanent dwelling place for your soul. Regret has meaning only when it leads you toward growth. If you keep looking behind you, you will no longer have the strength to see the door opening before you. So many good things are still waiting ahead, but they will remain beyond your reach if you continue clinging tightly to what can no longer be changed. This is why peace does not come from never making mistakes, but from having the courage to allow your heart to be renewed each day. When you learn to release what no longer belongs to you, you will also learn to cherish what is truly precious. You will value a meal filled with laughter more than a lavish feast full of display. You will treasure one sincere question of concern more than hundreds of shallow praises. You will realize that the presence of someone who truly loves you is more precious than countless relationships built only on personal gain. Above all, you will understand that a peaceful heart is always richer than a treasure room, filled with possessions that can never bring joy. There will be times when you enter seasons of stillness in which it seems that nothing is happening. No good news, no great change, no sign that what you have been waiting for is drawing near. Those quiet seasons often discourage you the most. But remember that nature has seasons like this too. Before a field is covered with ripened grain, the seed spends many silent days hidden beneath the soil. Before a flower bud opens, countless changes take place in the darkness where no eye can see them. Your life follows the same rhythm. Not every kind of growth makes a sound. Some of the deepest changes happen in silence, and only time can prove them. Do not be too afraid of the days when you must wait. Waiting teaches you how to distinguish between what you want and what you truly need. There may be times when you pray for a door to open, only to understand later that its closing protected you from a dangerous road. There may be times when you grieve over a dream that has fallen apart, but years later, you smile as you realize that if that dream had come true, you would never have encountered the better things waiting ahead. Therefore, not every prayer is answered in the way you desire, but every sincere prayer has meaning on the journey of making your heart deeper and wiser. My beloved child, keep your eyes always searching for what is good in others. The world easily notices faults, but a heart nourished by love learns to recognize seeds of goodness even when they are still very small. When you choose encouragement instead of criticism, listening instead of judgment, and compassion instead of condemnation, you help make this world gentler. Not everyone you meet is living through peaceful days. Some people smile to hide storms within their hearts. Some continue walking even though their hearts are deeply weary. A kind word from you may become a small lamp that guides a lost soul. Even when you do not realize it, do not think that small things cannot make a difference. A tiny drop of water, falling faithfully over time, can wear down even the hardest stone. A small seed, when cared for, you can become a great tree where birds of the air make their nests. A sincere word of encouragement can sometimes be enough to keep someone from surrendering their hope. This is why every day you live is an opportunity to sow goodness into the world. No one knows which seed will sprout first, but no seed of love is ever forgotten. Perhaps you once hoped that you would become a perfect person, but the beauty of this journey is not found in perfection, but in sincerity. A heart that knows how to admit its mistakes is more precious than a heart that always tries to prove itself right. A person who learns from failure grows more deeply than one who has never faced defeat. Therefore, if there are still things you have not yet been able to accomplish today, do not despair. Let every day become a new opportunity to live more kindly than yesterday, more patiently than yesterday, and with more love than yesterday. Then there will come a time when you realize that happiness is not a destination at the end of the road, but the way you walk through every part of that road. If you wait until every difficulty disappears before allowing yourself to be at peace, you will wait for a very long time. But if you learn to be grateful even in ordinary moments, you will discover that joy is already present in every small part of life. Waking up to another morning, a clear sky after the rain, one hand holding another, a gaze filled with compassion. All of these are quiet gifts that make life worth living. Therefore, as you continue walking after these words, do not carry the feeling that you are alone in a vast world. Carry with you the assurance that light always finds a way through, even the smallest opening. If today you have strength for only one more step, then take that step with all your courage. If today you have strength only for a very short prayer, then let that prayer rise with all your sincerity. If today you have strength only to offer one smile, do not underestimate that smile, for perhaps it will become the ray of hope that someone else has been quietly waiting for. And then, as the years pass silently by, what remains will not be how much you accumulated, nor how many people knew your name. What remains will be the hearts that were comforted by your presence, the tears that were dried by your kindness, and the souls that found hope again through the gentle words you spoke. That is the most beautiful legacy a person can leave in this world. For after all, what truly makes a life shine is not power or fame, but the ability to bring love, peace, and hope to others. And if every day you choose to walk toward the light, even through very small steps, then your life itself will gradually become a quiet lamp, lighting the way for those who are still searching for the path home in the darkness. So do not seek me only in extraordinary moments that you call miracles. Learn to recognize the footprints of goodness along the most ordinary roads. I am in the peace of an early morning when sunlight quietly rests upon the rooftops. I am in the smile of a stranger offered to you in the middle of a weary day. I am in the hand that lifted you up when you thought you no longer had the strength to continue. I am in the forgiveness you once believed you could never give. And I am also in the tear you quietly wipe away for someone else. People often wait for brilliant signs in the sky, but many times the greatest miracle is already growing within a heart that loves more deeply than it did yesterday. It is there that light begins to change the whole world without the noise of anything showy. My beloved child, there will be times when you feel like someone walking through a desert. Every prayer seems to echo back only into your own heart. The things you have waited for still have not come. Your questions still have no answers. In such moments, what exhausts you most is not the silence itself, but the fear that you are walking alone. But remember the people of Israel on their long journey through the wilderness. Many times they lost heart because they saw only the dust before them and forgot the cloud that guided them by day and the pillar of fire that gave them light by night. You are the same. Some guidance is not always felt through emotion. Some presences do not need to be seen in order to be real. Even when the sky is covered with clouds, the sun is still there. Even when your heart cannot yet feel peace, it does not mean that hope has left you. Do not let your circumstances become the only mirror reflecting your life. Circumstances change like the waves of the sea. Today may be peaceful, yet tomorrow the winds may rise. If you look only at what is happening before your eyes, your heart will easily be swept away by every tide of anxiety. Let a deeper truth become the ground on which you stand firm. A house is built upon rock not because it never faces rain or wind, but because its foundation does not depend on them. What I desire for you is not a life that is never shaken, but a heart that knows how to find peace again, even while the storm has not yet passed. At times, you may wonder why, even though you have tried to live with kindness, you still encounter unfairness. Some may treat you carelessly. Some may misunderstand the sincerity of your heart. Some may respond to your faithfulness with coldness. In those moments, you may be tempted to believe that kindness is meaningless, but do not allow the bitterness of others to become a seed within your own soul. When a garden is covered with weeds, the gardener does not solve the problem by planting more weeds. Instead, they patiently tend the good seedlings until they grow stronger than everything harmful around them. Guard your heart in the same way. Do not let what you receive determine what you will give. Let what you choose become the mark of who you are. Do not be afraid to begin again. Every spring is proof that nature never grows weary of being renewed. Branches that stood bare throughout winter will one day be covered again with tender leaves. Streams that once ran dry will be filled again by new rains. If all creation continues to renew itself, why would you believe that your own life has no hope left? Do not let the past become a chain that locks away your future. Let it become a teacher that helps you walk with greater wisdom. My beloved child, what I most desire for you to remember is not merely the beautiful words you have just read, but the way you will live after you close these lines. For light is not given to be stored away, but to be shared. If today you have felt peace, carry that peace to someone whose heart is troubled. If today you have received mercy, let that mercy continue to flow through your life to others. If today you have been lifted up, become a shoulder for someone who is weary. One lamp can light hundreds of other lamps without losing any of its own brightness. Love is the same. The more it is shared, the richer it becomes. Perhaps the final truth I want you to keep in your heart is this: never confuse delay with abandonment. Fruit that ripens in its proper season is sweeter than fruit picked too soon. A melody played in the right rhythm creates its full beauty. Every good thing has its appointed time. When you do not yet see a door opening, remain faithful to the goodness before you. When you have not yet received an answer, continue to live with gratitude. When you cannot yet see the light at the end of the road, become a small light for the one walking beside you. That is how hope is preserved, day by day. And if, after all you have been through, there are still moments when you feel lost, remember this gentle promise that this heart longs to give you. You are not loved because you have never made mistakes, nor are you held because you have always been strong. You are loved in the midst of your journey of becoming. You are welcomed even among the unfinished parts of your life. And you are invited to keep walking each day with a heart that turns toward what is good. When you choose light instead of darkness, hope instead of despair, and love instead of hatred, each small decision will quietly write a more beautiful story than anything you have ever imagined. One day, when you look back, you will smile as you realize that the most precious thing was not how quickly you arrived, but that through all the crossroads of life, you never stopped choosing to walk toward the light. And that very choice gradually transformed your soul into a place of peace for yourself and for every person you meet along the way. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so that together we may build a strong community of faith.